how we're going to do this. There we go, I think. Maybe I need to pull back just a little bit. Oh, sorry, hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've got it going. Okay, guys, it's nice to see you. Yes, we have a hurricane. I've seen a lot of people's messages of concern about me with this new hurricane. The good news is I'm leaving the day before it's supposed to hit. So hopefully, if everything goes well, I know it's already adding like an hour or some odd, like a little under 2 hours to my drive time with the hurricane that has already hit. So I'm hoping that it doesn't do too much to my my trip to Tennessee, but whatever it is whatever it is. It's a bad time to be having to go to court in Tennessee. I'd much rather batten down the hatchet and just sit and put, but I can't, right? I can't. It's nice to see you, MTB, Jenny. It's nice to see you, Diane, Natalie, Linda. Good morning. Our beautiful Southern Grammy Wolf is up in the house. Melanie, it's nice to see you, my love. I hope you're doing well. Phil, good afternoon. Or I don't know what time it is there. Maybe it's evening. It should be evening, like early evening there, maybe. Hen House, Peggy, Karma's mom, True Crime Addict. It's nice to see you. Find Summer's Truth. Oh, that's really sweet. Yes, yes. Miss Tiffany, it's nice to see you. Shannon, Dawn, Susan, Brenda, Lisa, be always. Hey, hey, hey. It's 5:30. Yeah. Perfect. Thank God that I'm good. I remember it being like 5 hours. That's awesome. Mama Shellbell, good morning, afternoon, whatever day it is. Proud Patriot Girly, it's nice to see you. Hey, Vicky, Debbie. Hello, Show Poodle. It's nice to see you, Natalie. True Crime with Sweet Melissa. It's my shirt. It's making the green not stand out too much on me. Lost Cause, it's nice to see you. Justin RN, oh, big hugs to you. Big hugs to you. You're probably dealing with a lot of stuff. Carla, it's nice to see you. Melody, hey. Becky, Ginger, it's nice to see you. Hi, Betty, good morning. It's like 2:30 p.m. here, or 2:03 p.m. here. Oh, so you're ahead of me. Wow. Mary, it's nice to see you. Jenny, Butterfly Kisses. Hey, guys. Marie, it's nice to see you all. I know I was going to come back yesterday, and I didn't even realize yesterday was Saturday. I don't know what I don't know what I was thinking. So I wake up this morning, and I'm like, I wake up at like 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, crap, waking up 3:30 in the morning on a Saturday. I went to go look at the calendar, and it's Sunday, and I'm like, okay, this is great. This is how my week's going to be going. Let's hopefully next week will be a little bit better. It's another hurricane. Yeah, it's hurricane season. This has been pretty active, Florida and all the people that are in that little cove, from Texas. What do we have? We have some Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia. We all have a piece of property out there in the bend somewhere, in that Gulf of Mexico. We border the Gulf of Mexico, and that's we get some powerful hurricanes from the Gulf of Mexico because this time of year, with it being summer, the water is really warm, and the warm water is what fuels these hurricanes to get bigger and more massive. So we've got one right now. It's a tropical storm. I'm not going to worry about it too much until it's time to worry about it. I've lived in Florida my entire life. Literally 5 miles down the road is the hospital I was born in. Okay, so I've rode it out here in this small town. Well, that's growing small town, growing large town now, medium-sized town. I don't know what we are. But I've been here through a lot of storms. Every single year, this is what happens. Like I said, I've just learned over the years the best thing to do for me is to sit put. If they tell you to evacuate. I'm as stubborn as a mule, so even when I'm told to evacuate, I probably don't evacuate because I just ride it out. If the water comes in, the water comes in. If the water rises, the water rises. I mean, what do? You make do with what you can. You try to move the stuff as needed. You try to stay away from the electrical outlets. What do you do? I'm not too worried. I mean, that's really the only thing I do worry about is the the water rise. The water rise really is the only thing. Oh, thank you, Lost Cause. God bless you. God bless you. Michelle, oh, I wanted to tell you because you asked me, and I don't know if I responded to you or not. I do have the AirTag. It did have the BHB with the hearts on it, which is really sweet, by the way. And I got it paired. So I just thought you should know that everything's paired, got paired. And so yeah, throw on a life jacket and a bike helmet. There you go. That's about it. And when I get too really worried, I close all the doors in the hallway, and I'll just chill in the hallway. So that's the safest place for me in my house. Every room I have in this house has windows. The only place that does not have windows is the hallway, and the only way I wouldn't be, wind and stuff, is to close the doors. So the hallway really will be, if push comes to shove, would be probably where I'd be. I've got ladders, I've got extension ladders, I've got everything like that if I need to crawl or swim up on the roof if it gets that high, It is what it is. That's the way I look at it. It is what it is. So, I don't live, just to let you guys know, I don't live on the beaches, the water. If that was the case, then yes, I would without a doubt evacuate, because that is it's not even that. Even if your house stands up when you're out there on the beaches, you can't get over the bridges. You're kind of stuck out there. So if all of the food and grocery stores are closed down and the bridges are closed down, you're kind of stuck like Chuck out there on the island with no place to go. So, like I said, I'm much more inland, but do whatever you feel is right for you. If you live in the state of Florida, I know people have been worried about me and sending me good vibes, and I really do appreciate it, but I'll be just fine. I'm not even going to be here. If the house is here when I get back, the house is here when I get back. It was a good day. If it's not, well, I'm just going to join the rest of them for the $750 application for, some FEMA assistance. They've got thousands and thousands of dollars per month to give to illegals, unbeknownst to us. But here we have dire straits. We have a lot of people without anything. And FEMA's broke because of everything they've done for the illegal immigrants that have broke our laws and broke through our borders. But hey, keep voting for those people that put us last. It worked for us the last 4 years. Maybe, just maybe the next time we just might get it. I digress. All right, guys. Well, we all know that...
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horse shit.
How to get them up. Okay. Now that I had my fun. It didn't sound good. Okay, we're going to turn them upside down so you guys can hear them. But...
Warning, bullshit alert.
There we go. Did I tell you? I put these down. Delilah hit one of the buttons, and it scared the crap out of me. I'm like, who hit the bullshit button? Delilah was like, hey, that's kind of cool. It's horrible. I was homeless 2 years, 2 kids, and they had no shelters for us, but we're helping immigrants, yet we were born here. Sad. Exactly. This is, enough's enough with this PC you know what I'm saying. I'm over it. I know how I'm voting. I'm voting all of this nonsense. I'm voting us first. I've always been taught, even when you fly, you get on a flight, what do they teach you to do first? They teach you to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you help somebody else. Hey, River, it's nice to see you, my love. Nice to see you. They teach you to help the other person after you make sure you're okay. And the United States has to start being that. We have to make sure we're okay so we can lead from strength and help other people. But if we're helping everybody else while we're struggling and suffering, we're just going to get weaker and weaker and be no good for anyone out there. Nobody. So I'm not going to get in it. This is not a political channel. We do have political channels. I haven't been on them in a while, but we need to get them rolling out because I gotta, we're getting close to the election. So I have a funny feeling it's going to be top of mind for me. Top of mind. All right, guys. Just getting on with this. Yesterday we were going through, of course we had a lot of the BS hate channels, constantly dogging on an innocent father that had nothing to do with the disappearance of his son. but for whatever reason, they just think that there's going to be something magnificent that pops out of some interview that he does that's going to lead to the whereabouts of Sebastian, even though he was at work. He didn't even hardly take a break that day. We have the time record cards. He's being seen on film. He has key cards that show exactly where he's went on campus there at the Davison County Jail. You know, we have him passing a polygraph test, and those polygraph results being public through the Nancy Grace Show. We have a whole wide range of reasons why we do not believe that Seth Rogers is anywhere, you know, anybody that we need to look at. As a matter of fact, everything that we've learned in our very thorough investigative work over this case, it's just the opposite. That Seth needs to be wrapped with support and love and kindness and understanding and empathy and sympathy because of what he's going through when it comes to his son. He went to work like any normal day, and by the time he got off work at 7 o'clock in the morning, by 7:20, his whole entire world was flipped upside down, and this roller coaster hasn't stopped since that day. That day was February 26th, when Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, a 15-year-old autistic child, disappeared from inside his locked home with his military-trained mother. And there's no dog scent, and there's no video evidence that this boy walked out the house. And we're all supposed to believe that this boy just walked out the house because Mommy Dearest said so. Well, I call.
That was bullshit.
It's a Sunday, so I can't. This doesn't go against the cuss jar. This is a button. I got. You know, it only has one word. Okay, a few phrases, but one word. That's it. Are you gonna keep moving around? Are you gonna? The whole purpose of us being in here because you wouldn't settle down in the living room. Settle down. Settle down. Just saying. Ain't playing. War Eagle, it's nice to see you, my love. Nice to see you. So, we were going to come back later the afternoon, but I know that other people, you know, they have their commentary, and you guys like different perspectives and stuff like that. So, you know, I did see a few people on when I was going to go on, and I figured, what the hey, you know, this is one of those things that we can watch it yesterday or we can watch it today. It really doesn't matter. It's still going to be a hot mess express. But hey, hindsight, it's nice to see you, my love. But one of the things is we saw Seth, which was packed with his son. It was all about his son. It was trying to find answers to what happened. It's telling her how he doesn't feel that the story that's being stated is true, that there's reasons why he feels that those statements are untrue. You know, he knows his son to always put his shoes on if he's going to leave the home. Leave the home. That is the key phrase. He even went as far as to say he had slippers by his front door, so when he walks out to take the garbage out or put the trash out, he has something to slip on his feet. But, you know, however, at the end of the day, the mom contradicts that a little bit, stating that, I know, I can't remember verbatim what she said, but she said something to the effect of, I understand that Seth says he has the experience of of Sebastian never leaving the house, but we had just the opposite. He's gone to the mailbox without his shoes. He's gone, taken the garbage out without his shoes. And I sat there and listened to that, and I'm like, you know what? He wasn't leaving the home when he went to get the mail. He wasn't leaving the home when he went to take the garbage out to the road. But I doubt she could possibly state that when he's leaving the home, he doesn't always put his shoes and socks on. And wouldn't you agree that if it's her claim that this young man walked out of the house to run away from home, that would be leaving the home, and therefore would make him put his socks and shoes on. So we're not trying to beat a dead horse with the socks and shoes, but the socks and shoes seem like to be a major issue here, okay? Because of his disability, he was very particular in very much of everything that he did. Very particular, very structured, very scheduled, very mundane, if you will. So that was his life, sheltered, very structured, had a very strict schedule, did things the same way just about every single day because that promotes stability and helps them thrive. And he played video games offline. That was his thing. Now, people are saying something about the YouTube. This is what I found out. Now, somebody's going to have to tell me if this is accurate or not, because I don't quite understand it, but I believe this might be the issue. So when you don't have access to internet to communicate with people, to chat or something like that, I believe what they do is they download the videos and keep him offline so he can watch the videos but not have the online activity. I didn't know that you could do that, but apparently you can. There's a way that you can download, like say if he was a Minecraft person, you download the video to YouTube, and then when YouTube's off, you still have access to those downloads. Now, I could be totally off base with that. I don't know that much about it, but I think maybe both are true, and that's what's confusing people, confusing people, because I remember whenever I was on a flight, I remember I could never understand how even though we didn't have internet, how some kids were able to watch their videos or stuff from YouTube on their device. You can do that. That is true. Okay, well then that kind of I didn't know that. So I think that might be why we're so confused, is that I do believe that there's a way he can watch videos without being online or without being able to commentate with somebody else, and that might be what's confused us all this whole time. But either way, it really comes down to a few particular details that matter. And those few details that really matter to me and appear to be, like we heard from the I can't remember what she was, but she did a lot of autism. I can't remember her specific title from yesterday. We can go back and find out. But she said that the changing of behavior is pretty much alarming. Very interesting that this does not bode very well with autistic children. That to do something this late in the game, to change the behaviors so swiftly and quickly, does not, and I'm paraphrasing here. This is not verbatim what this lady said, but it was something to that effect. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. E. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Car Guy. It's nice to see you all. I hope you're doing well. So we're going to get on with the Nancy Grace show. This is kind of part 2, if you will. We saw the video yesterday of Seth's interview with him, and there was been some misconceptions. I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit to get Chris and Katie's right back behind Seth's, but I'm doing that because we heard a statement, I read it here on my live, that the mom basically stated she reached out to Nancy Grace to be on their show. And we learned several times that that's not true. That, as a matter of fact, she was they were invited. Now this I haven't corroborated, so take it for what you will. Do your own research about this aspect. I don't know personally. I just know what I read, and what I read or saw was that they reached out to Nancy Grace to be on their show, and that's why they were on there. It sounds to me like other people in the chat said, no, that's wrong. She lied again, that Nancy Grace asked him to come on the show, and she turned her down. A mom seeking her son, not knowing where her son is, having no clue, and being able to be put on a national platform to get recognition for her son and her son's story, and she turned her down. If true. And I had enough people in my chat that came here that make me believe that it truly is true. But either way, a few days to a week after Seth was on Nancy Grace, they finally agreed to sit down with an interview. And so this is the interview. We are going to, hold on, there it's already up. So we're going to get back to playing this. And we all remember, If you guys were here yesterday, put a hand in the chat if you guys remember what Nancy Grace had to say yesterday. Let me just back this up just a little bit so we have a more full screen, because that's about as far as I can take it back. So I think we shouldn't have any problems with this. We'll see. Let me make sure my volume is up. My volume is not up. Let's just turn it up as loud as not as loud as we can. So here, without further ado, let's listen to the mom and stepdad's interview with Nancy Grace on the heel of Seth Rogers. Remember, now, okay, before we get started, let me ask you, for those that did watch this, I see there's several hands and thumbs up in the chat. You guys do recall about his commentary being Sebastian focused, finding Sebastian. He was very emotional. You could see it didn't appear like he had a lot of sleep. He wants his son home and was willing to do, and still willing to do, anything and everything to bring his son home.
6 a.m. From everything we can tell, that is the moment that Sebastian's mom and stepdad realize he's gone. For just one moment, imagine that. You go in your child's room where you find your child every single school day morning, and you wake them up.
Guys, I'll be right back.
But at 6 a.m., he's not there.
If the camera
Can
falls,
you
it's because
imagine
Delilah's moving.
what must have gone through their minds? First of all, I want you to hear what his bio mom, Katie Proudfoot, says. Listen.
When I woke him up for school, he wasn't there. I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband. I said, I can't find him. He said, what do you mean you can't find him? I said, he's not in the house.
Can't find him. Where is he? And in the last days, we learned that the official law enforcement search is actually scaling back. This as TikTokers and YouTubers are flooding the area, conducting their own searches. Listen to Eric Craddock, Chief Deputy, Sumner County Sheriff's.
Really wanted to come to the community and ask for your help. We need you to search your properties every day, morning and night. If there's a shed or a crawl space or up under your mobile home or a tarp that's in your yard, check it every morning and check it every night. Look for any details that something has been disturbed. If there's a shirt that was there today that wasn't there yesterday, notify us. You can really help us by searching your own property twice a day. Like I said, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off, and we really need your help to ensure that he is brought home safely.
We're working off the assumption. The assumption. I'll put this one on here so you guys can hear it a little better. There we go.
We are trying to determine what happened when this young boy, an autistic young boy, seemingly walks out of his own home in the middle of the night, we think, barefoot. How did that happen? I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Crime Stories and on Sirius XM 111. We've read a lot online. We've seen a lot of theories, a lot of speculation.
We have too. And we have done it. We've produced our own theories, and we speculated on why we came and derived that theory.
But let's start with what we know to be true. Joining me right now, an all-star panel.
And I have to say, the very first statement, we don't know what date he really disappeared on. We have no clue. It could be, in all fairness, it could be as early as February 25th, after 6:30 p.m. We don't know.
But first, I'm going to go to two special guests joining us, Katie and Chris Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother and his stepfather, who were in their home with Sebastian when he goes missing. to both of the Proudfoots. Thank you for being with us. I'm going to go straight back.
Now, he did not pipe up at that moment and state that he was not in the home when he went missing. It comes back a little bit later when that revelation is known.
Back to when Sebastian goes missing. Miss Proudfoot, I understand that the day before, which would have been Sunday, if I've got the information correct, that you guys went out, you went to dinner, you went to somewhere, I believe you said BJ's, where he had a, quote, colossal popcorn. Then you came home that night, and around 9 p.m., you tell Sebastian to go to bed. He says, okay, and goes to his room. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That night, I understand from previous statements you've made that you went to bed around midnight. Is that correct?
It is.
And to you, Mr. Proudfoot, Chris Proudfoot, did you also go to bed at midnight, or before or after?
No, ma'am. We went to bed around the same time because we were on the phone together.
So that's
And please excuse.
So that's when he finally pipes up. 4 minutes into the interview is when he decides to let her know that he wasn't home.
Please excuse any of my questions. I'm simply trying to find out more about that night. Do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
He wasn't actually in the home at all that weekend.
You were not home.
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
So where were you, Mr. Proudfoot?
I was in Memphis, Tennessee.
How far away is that?
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
3 hours and 37 minutes from doorstep to doorstep.
Bullshit detected. Take precautions.
We learned that he was thrown off the job at 11 a.m. and managed to make it home before 2 p.m., which basically implies that he can make it home from Memphis, doorstep to doorstep, in under 3 hours.
And what were you doing in Memphis?
Working.
Where do you work?
I'm currently working, or was working, at the St. Jude Children's Hospital construction project.
Yes, I'm very familiar with St. Jude's. You said you were working there. Are you no longer working there?
Right now, that's up in the air.
Well, you've been gone ever since Sebastian went missing, so I understand. When you are home, do you two sleep in the same bedroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a 3-bedroom home?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is your room as it relates to Sebastian's room?
Do you see just even the way that they're handling themselves is much different than any other interview we've seen where they were being interviewed by someone. They're not elaborating, they're not going into details, they're answering. It's almost like they're treating this as a deposition. Like they are just, if she asks a yes or no question, they're answering yes or no. And we have many, many examples when somebody asks them a yes or no question, we get stepdad going on a dissertation and barely even answering the question. And now you get yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Very almost robotic. To say from my point of view. Hey, Granny, happy Sunday to you too, hon.
It's on the opposite end of the house. The master bedroom's on one side, and the other 2 bedrooms are on the other side of the house.
Okay, so your master bedroom is on one side of the house and Sebastian's room is on the other side of the house. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you have a 3rd bedroom that I believe you keep for your other daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, the room, you too. Nice to
Is
see
that
you.
Faith? Is your other daughter named Faith?
Yes, ma'am.
Reality Oakley, nice to see
Okay.
you.
So where is Faith's bedroom as it relates to Sebastian's bedroom?
It's in the back side of the house. Sebastian's bedroom is
So
on the
it's-
front side of the house.
Okay, so his bedroom is away from Faith's bedroom and away from your master bedroom. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Sebastian's room on a top floor or a ground level?
We have a ranch style house. It's a 1.5 story. So everything is flat, and then you have the bonus room above the garage.
Okay, so his is on ground floor, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That morning, was there any sign of a break-in through a window, a front door, a back door, a sliding glass door, anything at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. No sign of forced entry. Was anything taken from the home at all?
Not that we could find anything. We couldn't find anything missing.
No snacks, no money, no shoes, no jacket, nothing to drink, nothing to play with, nothing to help navigate, nothing.
I want to circle back to Sebastian's shoes regarding if anything was missing. Do you have a burglar alarm?
No.
That was a very uncomfortable pause. They had been answering, in some of these interviews, especially on networks, you get a lag. Excuse me, I am drinking a latte. Latte, take me away. So my voice, milk does that to my voice. I don't know why, but it does. But they're asking about a security system. And there was just a very, very uncomfortable pause. And usually the stepfather answers everything, but it seemed like he was deafeningly silent, so much so that Mommy Dearest thought she needed to pipe up.
Was anything taken from the home at all?
Not that we could find anything. We couldn't find anything missing.
I want to circle back to Sebastian's shoes regarding if anything was missing. Do you have a burglar alarm?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, ma'am.
It's about 6 seconds.
Do you have a Ring doorbell cam?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have the two of you take...
He did not, for the first time, when it comes to the security of his home, that was the first time we have not heard him shut it down or go on a dissertation about how dare us ask questions or anything like that. He just sat there silently. I think this is the first major question that he did not answer to a former prosecutor, which to me is telling. The little sound buttons are cracking me up. Ha!
Bullshit level, DEFCON 5.
taken a polygraph?
Morning, Pete. Lady Tit Tat. Nice to see
I
you, Tit
have.
for Tat.
I have not.
Would you be willing to...
This is the first time in months, that we finally learned the truth. I don't know if you guys remember this, but we had been told from Facebook posts that were passed around many, many times that he acknowledged taking a polygraph test and passing it. And he stated that he had taken it and passed it. Maybe not, he played with word salad when he's on these interviews, but he did state it in several messages on Facebook, and we did see those at that time. So this is the first time I remember seeing this interview, and I remember my mouth falling open because we had been told for over a month at this juncture that, or right about a month at this juncture, that he not only took a polygraph test, but he also passed and was cleared.
Do you have a Ring doorbell cam?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have the two of you taken a polygraph?
I have.
I have not.
Would you be willing to?
I've offered and volunteered on many occasions to take a polygraph, and I was told directly by law enforcement because of my
Oh,
whereabouts.
come on now, that
I
ain't
did not
even
need one.
bullshit. That's horse shit.
I understand. Miss Proudfoot, did you pass your polygraph?
I did.
Those questions out of the way. Was Faith in the home when Sebastian went missing?
No, ma'am.
Does anyone else have a key to your home beside your immediate family?
No.
No, ma'am.
Immediate family means the people that are living in the house. So they're saying basically his mom and stepfather don't have keys, his sisters don't have keys to the house. Nobody has keys to their house.
That night, Miss Proudfoot, at midnight when you went to bed, what did you do until midnight?
I had been reading a chapter that I needed to, and I had been talking to my husband on the phone. I was falling asleep on him, so that's when he told me it was around midnight. He told me to go ahead and put the dogs up and go to bed, and that's what I did. I got up, put the dogs where they sleep, and then I myself went to bed.
Now, I've had at least one or two people from the audience specifically ask me, what about the dogs? There was no mention at all of the dogs going out or using the bathroom at all this day that they went out. We never heard about whether or not Sebastian did his nightly routines. Heck, the way it sounds is this lady here didn't even do her nightly routines, didn't brush her teeth, didn't change into pajamas, didn't get a shower. It, to me, seems odd that we don't know whether dogs went potty, who took those dogs out, when they came back in, if she took a shower, brushed her teeth before she went to bed, or if her son took a shower or brushed his teeth before he went to bed. It sounds like they were outside, out in the world all day the day before, from the time they got up pretty much to the time they got home at 6:30. So when did everybody do their nightly routines? Because, her teeth aren't rotting out of her mouth, so to have to assume she brushes her teeth. When did all this happen?
Where do they sleep?
They have a big pen.
A pen, is it inside or outside?
Inside.
Inside. That reminds me of another question.
And we also learned, thank you, Lost Cause. Lost Cause gifted 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships. Thank you so very much. I see SPED teacher in the house, and in my opinion, I believe CP was home that night. There's a lot of people that believe that because of his commentary about we would have heard him go out the window and we. And I thought it was a speech pattern, because that was when I thought he truly went back and got his camper all by himself. Well, it sounds like he didn't go back and get his camper by himself. It sounds like he had Daniel Guy with him to go back and get his camper. And so that means it wasn't him that just stayed the night. It was another man, another full body construction working type of man that was with him, if that is true. So very confused. Thank you all that got your gifted membership. Don't forget to tell Lost Cause, thank you. Welcome to this crazy crew we call the Coffee Club. Welcome to the Fam. It's nice to see you. The dogs, we learned, slept with Mom when stepdaddy's out of the house.
Do you guys have a motion sensor light or lights on the outside of your house?
Yes, we do have lights on the outside of our house.
Did they activate that night?
They're not motion censored. We have lights.
Were they
but not
on that
motion
night?
censored.
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Were they on that night? So the lights were out the whole night?
Yes, ma'am. We don't typically turn the floodlights on.
Were there any lights outside the house on at all?
Just my little solar lights that we have in the garden.
There's
Yep.
2 lights on the side of the house above the garage that are on at all times.
Oh yeah, those are on.
Oh, there's a light above the garage that's on at all times?
There's 2. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so those lights were on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, I want to clarify, those lights are on what appear to be the front, like the front side part of their house. But according to the neighbors, that around 11:30, 11:45, the entire house went dark. According to some videos that they reviewed.
The reason I'm asking is because I heard you say earlier, Mr. Proudfoot, that your neighbors have been very, very forthcoming with their Ring camera info. And I was
Yes, ma'am.
trying to determine if any lights were on, what, if anything, they may have caught. But I understand from your previous interviews that nothing of any evidentiary value was caught. And also, in another statement you gave, I understand that the video of the
thank
2 flashlights, and I'm
you.
saying that with air quotes, that's not exactly
could
what
put
that
these things
was
up
at
on my-
all. We now don't believe.
Thank you, SPE t-shirt. As she says, please use this for your trip back to Tennessee at the end of the month. And thank you for all you do for Sebastian. And yes, we will bring him home. And thank you for all you do for Sebastian. Yes, we will. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. So she's going on a dissertation about why she's asking these questions. The parents are still very military-esque, if you will, in their responses, robotic, emotionless. Look at their faces. Like, you could see the whole entire time Seth was ready to break down, and these people have stone cold faces.
That 2 flashlights were observed around your home. Is that correct?
You're
Yes.
very correct.
Okay. Question regarding your vehicles. Ms. Proudfoot, what make and model do you drive?
I drive a Infinity SUV.
Year?
2017.
And, sir, what do you drive?
Exactly,
I
Beth.
drive a diesel truck, Chevrolet.
Year?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's a 2021, I think.
So, your Infinity SUV was.
Who does not know what year their vehicle is? If I've got any guys in this chat right now, how many of my male watchers, if you're brave enough to respond in chat, how many of you guys know what year, make, and model your vehicle is? I mean, I would ask women, but, you know, there are some women that their husbands take care of everything, and they may not know. Their husband bought them their vehicle. They pay for the registration of their vehicle. They insure their vehicle, you know, but not to know what year. I mean, I don't know if that's possible for somebody to forget the year of their car. He knows what year and make, and he didn't want to put it out there. Yep.
Parked in the garage or outside the garage that night, Miss Proudfoot?
In the garage.
In the garage. And Mr. Proudfoot, your vehicle was on location in Memphis. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there's only one car at the home. Is that right?
There was actually a work vehicle in the driveway at the time as well, but it hasn't moved. We can't give out that information because we don't have permission from her work.
See, he went that didn't even ask all that, and there's the stepfather of the year. He's gotta try to do damage control before the question's even asked. She asked nothing about.
I don't understand that. What?
Oh, hey, Justin.
About the make and model of the vehicle.
I have a work van that was also
More
parked in
flying
the
doves.
driveway.
Nice to see you.
Why is that? If it's out in the driveway where people can see it, why is that privileged information?
That's what we all say.
Warning, warning, bullshit alert.
We just don't have permission from her company to divulge that information.
Have you asked?
No, ma'am, we have not. Nobody has asked us
So
that
that
question.
was-
To be honest with you.
Okay, so you have a work van. Question to you, Miss Proudfoot, what do you do for a living?
I am an installation technician.
That night, was the work van blocking your driveway? Could someone go in and out of your driveway?
The van is parked at the back of my driveway, so someone can pull in, yes.
Got it. Do you park your Infinity SUV in the garage or outside the garage?
In the garage.
In the garage. Do you have an automatic garage door?
With the clicker.
Right. Do you leave that up or down at night?
Down.
Could anybody lift it up? Like, is there an on and off button outside, or do you have to know a code or have the clicker to open it?
You'd have to know the code or have the clicker.
Does Sebastian know the code?
Not to the garage door, but to the man doors.
Not to the garage door, but to the house doors?
The regular door, yes.
So is there a code to get in your home, or do you use your regular key?
There's a code.
And he knows that code.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, I'm just trying to figure out how he would have gotten out, or if somebody came into the home. Could they have gotten through the garage door? No, unless they know the code or had the clicker, which they did not. Do you lock your...
She's breaking it down why it's not a stranger danger, third party type of person. You know, she's really breaking the case at this time. For me, you know, when things started getting clearer for me, this is what eliminated a lot of the stranger danger theory. Because if you guys remember, I started out with like 4, 5, or 6 theories at the very beginning. And one of those theories was a stranger danger, or him running away from home and meeting with foul play later. And those were pretty much eliminated.
doors at night?
Yes, ma'am.
Could he have left on his own through those doors?
He could, yes, ma'am.
But I heard in another interview where Mr. Proudfoot said he was not a, quote, wanderer. He didn't wander around. He never left the home before on his own. Is that right?
Correct. We haven't had issues with him running or taking off in the past.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions regarding the doors. Do you have any home surveillance, anything at all that would have given us an idea or a clue if the door had been opened or not, or a window?
Not directly from our house.
Well, then from where?
This is what I'm noticing. How many other people are noticing this too? When it comes to the security of their home, in this particular interview, it's Katie answering all the questions related to the security cameras and the security system. This is the first time I've ever seen the stepfather sit there silently. I never picked this up on the first few times we've watched it, but this is starting to scream to me for some reason, and I don't know why. I never noticed because, you know, she's usually quiet as a mouse, and he's the one that's not even answering when it comes to the security of their home. And that's a first for me because typically, in my opinion, he's the first to say, you know, some type of, you know, smart aleck comment before he gives a half answer.
That's what we were hoping, that neighborhood ring cameras and may have picked something up.
Gotcha. I want to go back to that night. You said you were up till midnight. You were reading something. What were you reading?
A chapter for school.
A chapter for school. Are you in school?
I was, yes ma'am. I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Business administration.
She almost
Gotcha.
didn't answer that. I'm wondering if Chris is tapping her leg or something underneath because...
Are you in school?
I was, yes ma'am. I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Business administration.
that was just a little weird.
Gotcha. Where do you go to school?
Oh, thank you. RT to go. It says coffee fun while traveling. Don't forget to bring some dum-dums. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. Thank you. But it wasn't. It was another culprit behind the dum-dums. It was another culprit behind the dum-dums. So that was interesting. I know you've already wrote me and told me who you are, but I don't know if that's your YouTube name or not. So I'd like to thank you publicly, but I don't want to accidentally say the wrong first name again. I did that already once. So send me an email and let me know what if that's our RT, if that's you, thank you. God bless you. Let's go back just till here. Let's listen to this again.
I've since dropped my classes for the time.
What are you studying?
Business administration.
Just a
Gotcha.
weird pause.
Where do you go to school?
Yes, it's mine. Okay.
DeVry.
So our RT to go is behind the dum-dums. You know what? I'm gonna keep them next to me. I'm gonna carry them around. I'm gonna have Delilah in one hand and the dum-dums in the other. Business administration. I know, very professional. Very professional.
Gotcha. Where do you go to school?
DeVry.
So that night you go to bed at midnight after you've been talking to Mr. Proudfoot on the phone. You put the dogs away in a cage, a crate, inside the home, and you go to bed. Did you check on Sebastian at that time?
I did not.
Okay. Do you normally?
Not typically. Since he's gotten older, I've not been checking on him as frequently throughout the night because normally he's good to go in his room once he goes to bed.
Earlier you had stated you heard a noise in his room before you went to bed. What time was that?
Around 10 o'clock.
10 p.m. What did it sound like?
Just a thud.
A thud. You stated that you said, look, I don't care what you're doing in there, go to bed. Is that right?
I was on the couch, which is near his room, and I said, Bubba, did you fall out of the bed? And he said, no, ma'am. And I said, well, whatever you're doing in there, knock it off and go to sleep.
So you heard his voice at 10 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what the sound actually was?
I do not, no.
If he were to go out his window, what would he step on?
Mulch and bushes.
Did you say mulch or mush?
Mulch.
Mulch.
Mulch. Okay. Got it. Has he ever gone out the window before?
No, ma'am.
Is his room on the front of the house or the back of the house?
Front.
Front. Do any of your neighbors' ring cams point toward your house? Could they pick that up?
They do, but it's so dark that they can only see it. After it gets so dark at night, they can only see certain things where there's light.
Only certain things where there's light. And we just heard In the interview with Smiley's World, which was really long, if you guys haven't went back, if you have nothing to do, it's a 5-hour live. And we learned in that one that if somebody tried to come into the front door, the neighbor's camera across the street may not be able to get a good view, but it would definitely pick up something, and it would be hazy, or you'd see a figure. So in this interview, 10 days later, 7 days later, I think it might be 10 days later, something like that. Now it's, certain things, which is, again, just an oddity. Not like, it's not like total, like real huge, but in light of the situation and the ever changing stories, it just doesn't make sense.
I thought there were the 2 lights on
On the opposite side of the house.
Okay, can we talk about Sebastian's shoes? Why are you convinced Sebastian left without shoes on? Or are you?
Well, the reason that came about is because all of his shoes are accounted for inside the house still.
Are you positive?
I'm positive.
How do you know what clothes he was wearing?
Hey, Tulips, Kathy, nice to see you.
The clothes that we described are the ones I saw him in when he went to bed.
Texas, Shirley, one rock,
That
one sock.
morning, you woke up at 6 o'clock. Is that the normal time you wake up?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a heavy sleeper?
Off and on.
Do you
We learned from my interview with Seth that she sleeps like a rock. Even when the baby was screaming next to her, she would not wake up. That's what we learned.
take any medication at night that would make you sleep?
No, ma'am.
But you heard nothing.
I did not, no.
If she took no medication, why have we heard that she's been taking medication?
So we know he is alive and well at 10 p.m. At 6 a.m. he's gone. You say he's never left before. Is that right?
Correct. He's never run off before.
And could I confirm, where was his bio dad at the time he went missing?
I believe he was at work in Nashville.
Had there been any family argument or altercation prior to him going missing?
No, ma'am.
And Mr. Proudfoot, when did you leave town?
Early February.
So you had been gone for days before he went missing. Is that correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Had you visited home since you left?
You said from when I initially left?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I came home February 26th, the morning I was told that he was missing.
From the time that you left for the job in Memphis to February 26th, did you visit the home?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
I was home. I can't give exact dates.
I want you to listen to her question.
From the time that you left for the job in Memphis to February 26th, did you?
Oh, from the time you left for the job in Memphis, because I think I think in another interview he said he contracted in December and started in January, or something like that. I know one of you guys remember. Does anybody remember what was said about that?
Did you visit the home?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
I was home. I can't give exact dates. Law enforcement has told me not to provide exact dates, but I had been home multiple times prior to February. And then I left early February and then didn't come back till February 26th, the morning he was missing.
So,
Does that sound, just with a show of hands, does that sound normal, or like there wasn't any type of household turmoil? I don't. My experience has been when people are separated, they try to see each other as much as humanly possible when they can, especially a married husband and wife, you know. After you've worked all week and you've had to sleep in a camper, to be able to sleep in your own bed and drink a drink in your own darn recliner, it you know, it just seems like he would be rushing home for that. You know what I'm saying? So what was going on inside the household that prevented him from coming home for, what was it, 20 plus days? That's almost a month. Like, that's literally almost a month.
so you were not home from the time you left early February till Feb 26. Is that right?
Correct, man.
Where were you living in Memphis?
I have an RV trailer that I stay in at an RV park.
RV park? Okay. Following back up on that morning, you search the home, Miss Proudfoot. Then you get in your vehicle and you start searching. Did Sebastian know how to drive?
No, ma'am.
Was your car in the same location when you woke up that morning as it was the night before?
Yes, ma'am.
Has your car been searched by police?
Multiple times. Yes, ma'am.
Have scent dogs looked at your car?
Yes, ma'am.
So your car's in the same place. You get in the car, you start looking in the neighborhood for him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you...
Do you hear that? Like, it's very cold. The answers are, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Call Mr. Proudfoot, right?
I believe I was already on the phone with him at that point.
Okay. Question. Who called 911?
I did.
You did.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
time?
Without looking at a call log, I can't give you the exact time, but on or about 6:20.
And had you guys been talking on the phone before 6 a.m. or did you initially call Mr. Proudfoot at the time you realized Sebastian was gone?
I called him when I realized Sebastian was gone.
Have you guys
Oh, thank you,
been
Cheryl.
out looking
5
for
gifted Bullhorn
Sebastian?
Betty memberships. Welcome to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
family.
We were given information that you guys have left the home. Is that true?
Let's go back. I
Have
was
you
talking
been
about.
talking on the
Thank you so much. Who was it? Cheryl. Thank you. If you received your Bullhorn Betty membership, don't forget to tell Cheryl thank you. It's nice to have you guys to the fam.
the phone before 6 a.m. or did you initially call Mr. Proudfoot at the time you realized Sebastian was gone?
Oh, this is a good question.
6:20.
Hold on. Whoa.
Then you call Mr.
This is the meat and
Look,
potatoes. I want
yes,
to hear
ma'am.
this.
Have scent dogs looked at your car?
Sorry, we went back a little too far, but
Yes,
I want to hear
ma'am.
this.
So your car's in the same place. You get in the car, you start looking in the neighborhood for him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then
Remember that, guys. She looked in the neighborhood for him. That's going to be important in another interview.
you call Mr. Proudfoot, right?
I believe I was already on the phone with him at that point.
Okay. Question. Who called 911?
I did.
You did.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
time?
Without looking at a call, I can give you the exact time, but on or about 6:20.
That is when he actually phoned Seth and texted Seth. His call to law enforcement didn't come in until 6:33 a.m.
And had you guys been talking on the phone before 6 a.m. or did you initially call Mr. Proudfoot at the time you realized Sebastian was gone?
I called him when I realized Sebastian was gone.
Have you guys been out looking for Sebastian?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We were given information that you guys have left the home. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I'm going back to work.
You're going back to work. What about you, Miss Proudfoot?
And I'm not going back to work. Not yet, at least.
Did you leave the home also, Miss Proudfoot?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
To accompany my husband going back to work, and then I'm coming back.
Okay, when will you be back? Do you know yet?
No, not yet.
Are you concerned about being away while the search is ongoing?
Absolutely, I am.
Then why are you going?
Because my son could be anywhere, and we're looking everywhere and anywhere.
So, were they looking in the area of Memphis or wherever they're sitting right now, which I believe is Mississippi potentially? That's a question, that has never been answered. If they're looking, he could be anywhere. Is that why she's there? It seems like that's what she's implying, but I'm not sure.
I've got a question for you.
Yes,
I want to find out about Mr. Proudfoot hitting Sebastian with a belt. What happened?
That was actually several years ago, and it
To
was
Mr. Proudfoot.
one-
To Mr. Proudfoot. To Mr. Proudfoot.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Proudfoot, what happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you were asking Katie. Sebastian had gotten in trouble. He got caught lying. And I had asked him, I said, hey, you got to have a punishment for this. He says, yes, sir. And I said, okay. So,
He was caught lying, but before that, it was because he didn't have a belt on. So, unless he's trying to say because he lied about getting a belt on and didn't have a belt on or something to that effect, you're talking about two separate events. And again, it comes back to, a normal child, let alone an autistic child, isn't 15 a little too old to be swatting or hitting them? There's so much stuff. What could this kid possibly do when he doesn't really do anything? It seems like. I'm having the things we've heard over the last several interviews. It makes me question those things.
so I gave him a swat with a belt on his buttocks on the outside of his clothes. One swat.
What did he lie about?
I honestly don't remember at the time, but it was probably something dealing with school because that's majority where his issues lie.
Did he have other issues at school?
some behavioral stuff, but nothing too crazy.
What kind of behavioral stuff?
He has a hard time. He's awkwardly socially, like, blending in with students. So it's a little. He's trying to figure out how to do it, but respecting people's space. He gets a little too close, and then kids don't really accept that too much. So it kind of causes an issue. But he'll not stop, and he continues on. So then it causes an issue, and instead of being honest about it, he'll lie, like, "No, I didn't." Okay, Sebastian.
We're lying about doing.
Was that the first time? Was that the first time you had ever hit him with a belt?
Yes, ma'am. The one and only time, actually.
So, I don't know if I necessarily believe that statement for a variety of reasons, because we know that there were multiple situations. I would assume that if it was just a couple of situations, that's what would have been stated, but it wasn't stated that way. It was stated that there was, I can't remember if it was numerous or multiple, but it was one of those, I believe, one of those words that implied more than two. So, and not only that, but even in his own statements, even on Smiley's World, he already had a rapport with the CPS worker coming to his house. Do you guys remember him saying that? That he's like, "Oh, here we go again," or something to that effect? Do you guys remember that? Hindsight says, did he put him over his knee for it? How did it occur? In my opinion, I don't think it would have been welcomed easily by a 15-year-old without trying to run from it. In my opinion, true. Good perspective. Good perspective. That wasn't several years ago. That was recently, yes. I have been watching replays. Okay, yeah, because, I mean, I remember him saying that on Smiley's World. So.
When was this?
Years ago, ma'am.
Any idea how many? 3, 10, 1?
It probably at least 3 years ago.
3 years ago. 3 years ago. That's what's being stated in the Nancy Grace interview 3 years ago.
I don't understand how that turned into a CPS or Child Protective Services complaint. How were they alerted that you hit him with a belt?
That did not turn into a CPS service call.
There were.
So he's saying this particular event didn't trigger a service call. Then what service call was he talking about if this one wasn't it? And which one before that to have the good rapport with the person that came out there for the second? Or what we assume is the second? It could have even been the third. But this event here didn't trigger a CPS service call. Something did. Something did.
Other CPS reports, right? Were they regarding your other child?
There is one in regards to my daughter that I know of out in New Mexico with my ex-wife and myself.
What happened?
At the time, my ex-wife had fled to New Mexico with my daughter. We were going through a custody and a divorce case at that time. And at the time, when I'd call and try to check in on my daughter, I could never reach my ex-wife at that time. So a welfare check was requested. Law enforcement told me to call CPS if I had concerns. So I called CPS. Law enforcement did make a welfare call, and that was it.
Then how?
So somebody believes that mommy is typing something, maybe a computer in front of her or something, and maybe he's reading off of it. That's what somebody has said in the chat. I don't know. I wasn't paying that close of attention. We'll have to come back to that. Somebody remind me about that.
How does that turn into a CPS complaint against you?
I have no idea, ma'am. There's a lot of misinformation out there right now in regards to my New Mexico case that actually has no relevance to the Sebastian case.
Then was there even a CPS complaint against you in New Mexico?
Not that I am aware of. And my attorney and myself are well educated on my
Hey,
case.
Brenda.
And there's nothing that we know of.
Teresa Freebird. Nice to see you all.
Was there a TRO taken out
Ginger?
against you regarding
Yes, ma'am.
your daughter?
Not a TRO, but a TPO.
A temporary protective order. Why was that taken out?
So in regards to that case, my ex-wife had a TPO put against her in Tennessee at the time. When we went to court, that got dissolved. I was ordered to hand my daughter back over to my ex-wife at the time. She gets in a truck. She fleds to New Mexico. 2 days later, she files one in retaliation.
Is it still in place?
No, ma'am, that was dropped within, I think, 2 weeks of it being put in place.
And she coughs.
I've got a question about the belt incident. You're telling me that was the only time that you ever hit Sebastian with a belt.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're also telling me that did not make it to CPS?
No, ma'am, that did not.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding Fate's furniture.
Yes,
A few days after Sebastian goes missing, did you replace furniture in Fate's room?
No, ma'am, I have not replaced any furniture in my daughter's room.
Is there any new furniture in the home?
Yes, ma'am, there's a bed that was given to me and it's currently in my garage.
Has anything been taken out of the home?
No, ma'am.
I was curious about a statement that Miss Proudfoot made earlier that canine dogs hit on the barn around the home and near a retention pond. Did that happen?
I'm not sure about the barn, but the retention pond, yes.
Because law enforcement says the dogs did not hit. But Miss
There's been
Proudfoot says they did hit around the retention pond.
So there's been a lot of miscommunication in regards to what is and what is not. To help clear that up, law enforcement has actually spoken directly with me, showed me a few things. What I can tell you is from day one, there was 5 dogs that started the scent for the search. And then after that, from the next 8 days out from that, there have been dogs from all over the country that have come in and done searches and had scent hits in various locations. But I would say a certain percentage of them tend to go toward the same spot, which would have been a retention pond.
She keeps coughing in the background. Is anybody picking that up? I don't think I've ever recall noticing that before. That's several times he starts getting in the weeds. He's not on the yes sir, no sir. He reverts back to the good old stepdad that we know him to be. And he's got to over explain everything. And she's trying to get him back online with the coughing. That must be a thing.
There was 5 dogs that started the scent for the search. And then after that, from the next 8 days out from that, there have been dogs from all over the country that have come in and done searches and had scent hits in various locations. But I would say a certain percentage of them tend to go toward the same spot, which would have been a retention pond.
So the law enforcement dogs did not hit on the retention pond. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying they did. There was at least 3 that I know for a fact that did hit on the retention pond.
And the pond has been drained, correct? And there was nothing there.
Yes, ma'am. They have walked it, drained it, and there's nothing. The retention pond was only knee deep anyways.
On one occasion, Mr. Proudfoot, you stated that you and Mrs. Proudfoot have been, quote, vetted and cleared of foul play. That was stated on Chronicles of Olivia. Is that true? What do you mean by that?
Yes. So after working with law enforcement of all agencies, they have actually told us that there is no foul play, no nefarious issues. We've been cleared of all wrongdoing. We are working extremely cooperative with all law.
That was stated on.
Take precautions.
On one occasion, Mr. Proudfoot, you stated that you and Mrs. Proudfoot have been, quote, vetted and cleared of foul play. That was stated on Chronicles of Olivia. Is that true? What do you mean by that?
Yes. So after working with law enforcement of all agencies, they have actually told us that there is no foul play, no nefarious issues. We've been cleared of all wrongdoing. We are working extremely cooperative with all law enforcement agencies at any point in time that they've called, come to the house, anything.
Was Sebastian angry or upset before he disappeared?
No, ma'am.
Not to my knowledge.
What is your theory about where is Sebastian?
I wish I knew where he was, to be honest.
Your theory.
I think it's possible that someone has my son.
Why?
She doesn't look very confident in that answer. And if she really did think that, I don't understand how she's not losing her ever-loving stuff right at the moment. You know? I don't know.
Because I feel like if he had been close to the house or
Hey,
had
Teresa,
walked off, that we would have found
Shirley,
him by now with as many
Show
people as we
Poodle.
had searching.
Have you checked his social media?
He doesn't have social media.
Have you checked his phone?
His phone has been thoroughly checked, yes, ma'am.
Have you handed your phones to police, both of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Has police searched all of your devices, your laptop, your iPad, everything?
Everything. Yes, ma'am.
Other than you, Miss Proudfoot, who is the last person that saw or heard Sebastian alive the Sunday before he went missing?
2 of his aunts, a cousin, and the staff where we had dinner.
And that
So that was it right there. That explains that to me explains at least, partly. It doesn't sound like she or Sebastian was around the step grandparents.
heard Sebastian alive the Sunday before he went missing.
2 of his aunts, a cousin, and the staff where we had dinner.
And that was at BJ's the night before or the bowling alley?
So BJ's, and then we went to the bowling alley, and then after the bowling alley, we went to dinner before coming home.
I want to follow up again on the dogs hitting. Earlier, Ms. Proudfoot had stated the dogs hit around the house, the barn, and at the retention pond. Is that correct?
I don't know about the the barn, but I do know that they did track to the pond, yes.
Did the dogs also hit around the house?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
On the outside of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't know.
Were they scent dogs or cadaver dogs?
They brought in both cadaver and tracking dogs.
Which dog hit? A cadaver dog or a scent dog?
Scent dog.
It's all been scent dogs that have hit. The cadaver dogs have not hit on anything that we know of.
What do you believe Sebastian was wearing when he disappeared? And would that have been what he slept in?
Yes. So the clothes, the black sweatpants with the white stripes and the long sleeve black shirt, that is what he went to bed in. And the reason that I believe he was still wearing those clothes is because when we searched, I did not find those clothes in the house. So I have to assume that that's what he was still wearing.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did you say that's what he wore when he went to bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Joining us right now, in addition to Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot, the bio mom and stepdad of Sebastian, an all-star panel. First to Brian Trasher joining us, Vice President of the Cajun Navy, who has joined the search. Brian, thank you for being with us. Who asked you to join the search?
Well, we had deployed a team up to Nashville, Tennessee last week in response to the missing college student, Riley Strain. And we stayed up there until he was found. While we were in the area, we had a lot of people reaching out to us on social media saying that there was a young boy who had been missing for several weeks that was only about 20 miles away from where we were. So we talked to a few people, got some information, and decided to deploy part of our team that was already up there to Sumner County to investigate and see what we could do to help out.
You went on your own. Were you asked to join?
We were asked to join. I'm not sure specifically who some of our people talk to, but we get requests all the time, and we'll reach out. We'll try to get either a family member or a close friend of the family, just so we know we're talking to people connected to the family. And somebody had reached out and asked us to join since we already had assets so close to Sumner County.
Tell me what you have been doing, Brian Trasher. Everyone with me, the VP of the Cajun Navy, who has joined in the search. You can find them at CajunNavyRelief.com. Brian, tell me what you guys have been doing.
Just we're the United Cajun Navy. We're the original group that everybody hears about. There's other groups that use the Cajun.
That is not true. The original group is called Cajun Navy 2016. I know that for a fact because I talked to the people and they sent me the date in which they set up their Facebook group or their Facebook page, and they are a nonprofit that's called Cajun Navy 2016 or something like that. I can't remember it now, but it was similar, but they are not being truthful. They stole their reputation for this job right here, and that was wrong.
Navy name to try to fundraise off of our efforts. Cajun Navy Relief is not affiliated with us at all. We are www.unitedcajunnavy.org. We're the original. We're the real ones.
Again, what exactly have you been doing on the search?
So we've had a canine, our own canine team who is already participating in the search for Riley Strain up there searching around. We've talked with the lead investigator with Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Agent Simmons. We've talked a lot with him and trying to coordinate efforts because we always try to coordinate with law enforcement to make sure we're not getting in the way, duplicating efforts, or putting out any.
You know what, Mr. Trasher, let me just cut the chase here. Isn't it true that this weekend, pursuant to your search, that cadaver dogs hit in an area that had been closed off because of a prior hurricane, and it is on federal property? Bones and other items were found at that time. I found that very odd, as it would relate to Sebastian. even if it was Sebastian, his body would not have been skeletonized at this time. Can you tell me now that what was found over the weekend is not connected to Sebastian? Yes, no.
No.
Not connected to Sebastian.
That's correct. That hit was not connected to Sebastian.
Okay. Joining me also, in addition to Brian Trasher, who has been leading the Cajun Navy in its search for Sebastian. Hold on, Brian. Other than those hits, have there been any other dog hits in and around the home or elsewhere?
Not from our K-9 team.
I'm very concerned, Brian, as you can imagine, because LE law enforcement has stated there were no canine hits outside the home, which I find very, very disturbing. Because if he had gone outside, particularly barefoot, there would definitely have been a scent trail. Now, we're hearing from the Proudfoots that there was a hit around that retention pond. How far is that pond from your home, Mr. Proudfoot?
Less than probably half a mile if you walk the whole path.
Is it through wooded area? Would he have had to walk through the woods to get there?
No, ma'am. You can actually walk either the main road or the subdivision. So the construction site is a subdivision, new addition that's being built, and they have a road that's going to be tied into our subdivision. So you could actually walk up that way, or you could walk to the main road and walk into it.
Did Sebastian ever sleepwalk?
No, ma'am.
So he would have had to leave the house undetected by Katie and walk all the way to that retention pond. Did the dogs follow the trail a half a mile?
Yes, ma'am.
They followed the trail all the way to that retention pond?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
That's very curious, as they are saying the dogs didn't pick anything up. Back to you, Brian Trasher. Did you guys search anywhere other than that federal property where the false positive was? Yes, no?
No.
Joining me is Courtney Lasky, high-profile behavior analyst, autism expert, chief clinical officer with
That's the one. I think she was the same one that was on Seth's interview as well. So I'm interested now that she's had an opportunity to listen to the parents, whatever. I'm interested to hear what she has to say now. But it looks like the same girl. We'll have to go back and fact check.
Little Starts Therapy. Courtney,
Yeah,
thank
Little
you for
Starts
being
Therapy.
with us. At this
Yeah,
juncture,
that's her.
we know Sebastian to be most likely with people he doesn't know, if in fact he is still alive. How would that affect a young boy with autism?
It would affect him greatly. Based on the diagnosis of autism, we know that they typically have deficits with communication, social skills, and they display some rigid and repetitive behaviors. If, in fact, he is
Rigid and repetitive behaviors. Repetitive behaviors, not spontaneous.
typically have deficits with communication, social skills, and they display some rigid and repetitive behaviors. If, in fact, he is with someone else who does not know him well, that would be entirely out of his routine. He could be engaging in behaviors that he hasn't engaged in before. He could be looking for an escape. He could be looking to get out of those aversive situations. We know that not every autistic individual will wander, but those who do wander, 36%, it's to get out of an aversive situation. It's to get away from something that's overwhelming or overstimulating to them.
Ms. Proudfoot, does he know your phone number? Can he call you if he could get access to a phone?
We have gone over my phone number. I don't know that in a high stress time he would remember it, but yes, I have taught him my phone number.
Was he ever allowed to go visit friends' homes?
He didn't get invited, but had he been, yes. in a high stress time, he would remember it. But yes, I have taught
Okay.
him my phone number.
I'm gonna hit it now.
Was he ever allowed to go visit friends' homes?
I just think this response was awful.
He didn't get invited, but had he been, yes, we have had play dates in the past.
Would he go there on foot?
No, ma'am.
Joining me now is Lauren Conlon, investigative journalist, host of the Outlier podcast, host of Corruption, What Happened to Grant Solomon, and you can find her at laurenconlon.com. Lauren, thank you so much for being with us. What can you tell me about that stretch of road, if anything, between Sebastian's home and that retention pond?
Well, look, Nancy, I mean, I think like everything else about this case, it is very confusing because the public hasn't heard much from the police. We haven't heard much from the Proudfoots, obviously, when it comes to that, or Seth Rogers. And now I'm learning a lot here as I hear Chris Proudfoot say, okay, we can't speak about this because of law enforcement. And now with the Cajun Navy coming in, I think a lot of us are very excited that they are going to basically canvass this road, and they are actually telling civilians to hang back. Nobody needs to search this anymore. You need to stop helping and let us work with law enforcement and take over. Now, I called the Sumner County Sheriff's Office yesterday because of all the misinformation going around, and I gotta be honest with you, they didn't even know what was going on with this road, with the recreation search. They were either very elusive or they were very confused. But either way, it's very concerning because the people, as well as myself, I don't live in Tennessee. I cover a lot of Tennessee. We are very concerned for Sebastian. We are very concerned. And so...
Okay, so let me just stop you right there, Miss Conlon.
So that was the concern of another podcaster at this time. We're not so far off base. This was done, like I said, I think I have to look at the spreadsheet, 327, something like that. So she seems more frustrated and worried than what we've seen displayed in other people on this interview, for lack of better words.
Colin, everyone is concerned, but let me remind everyone that law enforcement is under no duty at all to tell us or anybody else, including the Proudfoots, anything. They are not representing the Proudfoots. They are representing justice, and they will do what they have to do. The fact that they're not giving us a blow by blow is their business. Does it mean they're stymied? I don't know. Does it mean they know more than we think they do? I don't know the answer to that. But
I do believe, in all fairness, that they know more than we think they know.
But just because they're not releasing an ongoing investigative file is not a concern to me. At this juncture, I'm collecting facts in the best way I know how.
And that's the only thing we can do in lack of information, is find it ourselves.
Now, regarding that route from the Proudfoot home to the retention pond, is it your understanding, Lauren Conlon, that there were no hits by scent or cadaver dogs along that route?
Correct, Nancy. It is my understanding there were no hits from the dogs.
It is very confusing. It's confusing. Sometimes, Lauren, when we try to put together a puzzle, but we're missing a few pieces and we don't know what piece we're missing, you can't put the puzzle together. We're missing things from this puzzle. And right now, I'm on a fact-finding mission. I am pointing the finger at no one because I want to find Sebastian. I want to go to Dr. Jory Crossan joining me. And guys, again, please, Proudfoots, Trasher, Lasky, Conlon, jump in if you have a thought or you want to contradict, because a lot of this is elusive. We don't know everything. To you, Jory Crossan, joining us, former law enforcement, now faculty, St. Leo University, very well known psychologist and author of Operation SOS. You can find him at drjory.com. Dr. Jory, thank you for being with us. Many people have made much of the fact that when interviewed, the Proudfoots do not look at the camera, they look away, they don't cry, and they don't seem upset. Now,
I'm sorry. She knows how to just cut it, doesn't she? She's like boom, boom, boom. You know, she doesn't even try to listen how she says it. I'm sorry. It's great. It's boom, boom, boom. This is what people are saying. You know, what do you say?
Operation SOS. You can find him at drjory.com. Dr. Jory, thank you for being with us. Many people have made much of the fact that when interviewed, the Proudfoots do not look at the camera, they look away, they don't cry, and they don't seem upset. Now, that may or may not mean anything. People can be very upset, crying, screaming, cursing. They may show no emotion at all. They may be numb by the time interviews are happening. I'm very different. When I talk about my fiance's murder or I talk about my dad's death, I still cry, even when I swear I'm not going to. But everyone reacts differently. I'm going to throw this directly to Mr. and Mrs. Proudfoot. Much has been made. I'll ask you. You very often look away, don't look at who's asking you questions, show no emotion. Much has been made of that. And I'd like to hear your response. I'm not judging one way or the other. I'd like to hear your response.
So the fact of not looking at the camera all the time is because a picture of my son is sitting beside me, and I'm looking at him. As far as the crying thing, I have been crying off and on nonstop for a month.
Many people have asked me, why did Miss Proudfoot not call 911 immediately? And here's your chance to answer that.
Because by the time I realized my son was missing and I called my husband, at that point I was hysterical. I was at the point where I couldn't even form words anymore, and my husband is the one who remained calm enough to call them.
Hey, to be honest with you, Miss Grace, the way we live outside of city limits, so you don't call 911 because you get routed to a dispatching hub who asks what's your location, and then they route you to another dispatcher to talk to give this story. I cut all of that out and I called straight to the sheriff's department because they have jurisdiction of where we live. So sorry that I decided to bypass a few steps and go straight to the source, where they responded within 10 minutes of the phone call being made.
Miss Proudfoot, that evening, were you drinking?
No, ma'am.
Had you used any type of drug at all, even OTC, over the counter?
No, ma'am.
And you had no argument with Sebastian that night?
No, ma'am.
You stated you put the dogs away into a crate before you went to bed. Is the crate located near the exit, near a door?
No, ma'am.
Would the dogs have barked if there had been an intruder or if Sebastian had left?
The dogs don't typically bark at me and Sebastian because they're used to us. Even if we get up, we come around, they don't typically bark. Strangers, they do tend to bark, at least for a minute or two to get attention. But no, ma'am, they don't typically bark at Sebastian and myself or Christopher.
What kind of dogs are they?
Morkies.
Question, where is their crate located?
In the area near my sunroom.
Over by the
In
kitchen.
No, ma'am, not
It's
Sebastian's
raining.
Sun, yeah. Yes.
It's raining, guys, but everything's running off a battery that we're doing the show for. So if we do go out of power for whatever reason, just stick with it.
The sunroom. And that's not near the door?
No, ma'am.
Not near the front door.
It's near my back door, but not any of the other doors.
Yes, from what I've seen the layout of the home, it is near the back door, and they would have heard someone coming in and out that back door, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
No barking. Do you have a chime or anything on your doors that would alert you to the door opening?
No, ma'am.
Miss Grace, could I
Question.
jump in for something?
Yes, please. And I want to follow up with a question
Yes.
regarding Miss Proudfoot's polygraph. But please, Lauren, jump in. Everybody on the
Thank you.
panel, now is the time to ask the Proudfoots any question that may shed light on what has happened to Sebastian. We are not in a judging arena. We are in a fact-finding arena. We can then assimilate the facts and make deductions. Please jump in. Lauren Conlon is
Yes.
joining me. You can find her at Lauren Emily Conlon. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And now this might be for Brian as well. Yesterday, when the dogs hit and everybody's going crazy, YouTubers, internet, TikTokers, and we figure out it's not Sebastian and police are not involved, the TBI is not involved. Did you call the Proudfoots and let them know that this was not Sebastian? Did you tell them ahead of time that you were searching these areas? Did they know what you were doing, or was this specifically just through Seth Rogers?
Yeah, so Seth Rogers is Sebastian's biological father, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he was there, and as Miss Grace alluded to her.
Oh, give it a second. I forgot it must have reset my internet when it did that. Shoot. We're gonna have to wait here for a second till it comes back on, because I had a flicker of power, and so it must have shut down. I didn't even think about it not running from my phone. Whatever. So it'll be back up in just a few minutes. So what do you guys think about this so far? I mean, I think some of the key takeaways here are their behavior has been much different than what we've seen in prior interviews, and you started seeing some of that come back out, as the interview started getting further along, because it seemed like
Earlier, it would not have been typical or.
It seems like Nancy asked the questions like up front, and then she kind of reiterated some of those questions in different ways at closer to the ending part of it, and it seemed like there was a little more commentary coming out, in my opinion, convincing language. So take it for what you will.
Possibly even.
Oh, let me just back up just a few seconds since it's been a while. Let's just listen to this.
Seth Rogers.
Yeah, so Seth Rogers is Sebastian's biological father, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he was there, and as Miss Grace alluded to earlier, it would not have been typical or possibly even probable that he could have skeletonized after only a few weeks. So I'm not sure about the Proudfoots, but his father definitely did know. I also wanted to echo what Miss Nancy said earlier about the police. One of the reasons we got called in, there was a lot of social media personalities reaching out to us, kind of complaining that they didn't feel like the police were doing enough. But really, it's just what Miss Nancy said. It's that they're not under obligation to give daily or every other day updates. They are doing an investigation. We have been in very close contact with TBI, and I can tell everybody with 100% certainty they are on top of it. They are not letting their foot off the gas at all on the search for Sebastian or trying to find out what happened to him. The YouTubers and TikTokers that do live stream probably do the most harm. We appreciate the attention that they bring to things, but when you do a live stream, you don't have any control over what gets seen by potentially the entire world. So we would, we can't tell people what not to do. They have free speech. It's their own accounts they're using. Not helpful to do live streams during searches like that. If you want to do it, do a video that you could potentially edit later, so that we cut down on the amount of misinformation. That's why social media is not necessarily a house. We go in and do search and rescue. You have to trust the process, like we do. We trust law enforcement is going to have this wrapped up probably very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, however, I want to make sure that you are
bullshit. That's horse shit.
not encouraging citizen sleuths to stop looking, because I've had many cases where we put out the warning and they actually spot a missing person. I mean, I only have to point to Gabby Petito, whose remains were found in dispersed camping way out west by a citizen who had heard about the case. So, sometimes their information is wrong, but there is no way in HELL that I would ask them to stop. And I know that's not where you're headed. Yeah.
No, we don't want them to stop. Matter of fact, it was 2 citizen sleuths that found Riley String's bank card out by the bank of the Cumberland River in Nashville. So, like I said, they do provide a service. My only suggestion was maybe not doing live stream, maybe just video, and then you can edit and post later. Just a suggestion.
Hey guys, I don't want to see anything edited. I want to see the whole thing. No edits, no airbrushing, the real deal. But that's just me. I want to go back to Katie Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother, Miss Proudfoot. What question?
And the reason why she's like that is because she's an investigator at heart, and you don't want anything, because all of these details that get cut out take perspective away, take critical information away. People want to see the entire thing, especially, obviously if there's some things there, you got to be really careful live streaming in case you do stumble across something. You could lose your channel you'd have to literally take the stream immediately down. There is some cautionary stuff you've got to do there. But for the most part, if you're an investigator at heart and you need to see everything, that's what helps get you as much information as possible. So you got to look at it from 2 lenses.
Were you asked during your, but that's just me. I want to go back to Katie Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother, Miss Proudfoot. What questions were you asked during your polygraph?
I was asked if I knew where my son was. I was asked if I hurt him. I was asked if I had hurt someone, among a few other questions.
And Mr. Proudfoot, you have volunteered to take a poly?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were to set up a poly for you, would you take it?
Name the place and time, ma'am. I'll be there.
Warning, bullshit alert.
And you're headed back to Memphis right now. Are you in your RV right now?
I am in my RV. We are not disclosing our current location just because of safety reasons, due to the YouTubers, the Facebookers out there that have sent some very heinous, threatening information and things of that nature, threatening to be outside of our house, all kinds of nasty things. So we're not disclosing our location at this time, unless you're law enforcement.
Ms. Proudfoot, is that one of the reasons you left the home?
See, do you think in Seth's interview he talked like that? Or anything like that? Every chance he had an opportunity to say Sebastian's name, he did. He did. It was not about him. It was not about his harassment, perceived harassment. It was about his son. It was about his son. And the only person that I've heard say Sebastian's name is Nancy.
Closing our location at this time,
Blah,
unless you're
blah,
law
blah.
Ms.
enforcement.
Proudfoot, is
or
that
you need
one
to-
of the reasons you left the home?
One of them, yes, ma'am.
Question to you guys. When police came in and processed your home, did they look with, for instance, luminol? Did they check? What did they do when they searched your home?
They thoroughly searched my home with many different things. They removed some things for the dogs to hold the scent, and for Sebastian's DNA. I know that they used thermal
Night imagery.
night vision, thank you. And I don't know exactly all of the tools that they used, but I do know that multiple different searches were done on my home by many different people, detectives, sheriffs, and a few others.
Yeah,
Even
I'm
the
not gonna.
dogs.
I wouldn't swear that the forensics folks showed up or not because there were so many folks in and out of the house that
Okay.
it was just, hi, I'm so and so with law enforcement. I'm so and so with law enforcement. Okay.
Every time they've said we need to look, or please do.
Does Sebastian have a hardwood floor or a carpeted floor?
In his bedroom,
Carpet.
Yes. Carpeting.
Carpet.
Did they remove any carpeting?
No, ma'am.
Do you feel confident they searched his bathroom?
They did.
Yes, ma'am. They did.
When you state that they removed items for the scent dogs, what did they take?
Clothing, a blanket that he used like every day, and a few other items of his, toiletries, like his brush.
Lauren Collin joining us, investigative journalist. Lauren, again, thank you for being with us. And earlier you were hearing sound from WSMV 4. I understand you have another question.
Oh, I mean, I guess I didn't quite get the clarity I wanted, in the sense that, did the Proudfoots know that this search was going on with the Cajun Navy? Were they being called? Were you guys being alerted about this? Did you hear from a YouTuber that they found something, that the the search dog started jumping? Or, were you just kind of blind to all of this? Just, over in your corner doing your search?
No, ma'am. So here, to set that record straight and help the United Cajun Navy. So somebody's got a picture out there saying that we're enjoying a dinner when we're actually out there, got flyers at a dinner table because we need to eat. My wife was on the phone with the Cajun Navy. That's how the Cajun Navy was brought in. And we talked to the president of the United Cajun Navy. He put us in touch with their team that was here locally in Nashville. Then that young lady reached back out to us, gave us some more information. We gave her some more details. Then they said they would start a search, but we also had them get in direct contact with the TBI agent as well as Sumner County's Sheriff's Department. We provided all that information. They reached out to them, got some information. They pushed outside of the areas that had been searched already, conducted a search. Somehow or another, they linked up with the bio father, who supposedly got a tip from somewhere. Whether or not it was credible or not, we don't know. But it led them to searching on federal property without permission, which is where we had been informed at some point that there was allegedly a hit on something, but turned out to be nothing. And they were asked to leave the property immediately, or the cops were going to be called, because it was trespassing based off of a tip that the bio father received.
Yeah, to Brian Trasher, VP of Cajun Navy, let's clear it up. Isn't it true this is on federal property that had been closed off? It was a hurricane site
Tornado.
Earlier. It was
Tornado.
also, yes, thank you. And it was
Sorry.
also near railroad tracks, and some homeless people have been living there, and apparently one of them had died, and we believe that is what the dogs were hitting on. Is that correct?
Yeah, all the above is correct, and we did not gain access to the property. It had already been open when we got there. I'm not sure how entry was gained, but yeah, everything above that you said was correct.
Guys, the search for Sebastian goes on. If you have information, if you know or think you know anything about this beautiful young autistic boy, please call TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, 800-TBI, FIND, T Tennessee, B Bureau, I, Investigative, TBI, FIND. 1-800-TBI-FIND. That's 800-824-3463. Please join us in the search for Sebastian and lift up your prayers. This boy will be found.
I hope that's true. He needs to be found. All right, guys. So we got through that interview. We see something different than we've seen in the parents since the beginning. Much more reserved. Didn't really clarify like we're accustomed to, the convincing language, what have you. Their behavior, their candor, just a lot. It just seems so ice cold. I don't know if we're going to be able to get over, how ice cold everything just feels when it's them, and you see Seth, and you feel his emotion. You feel it, and you feel his frustration too. And Nancy is right. We're not entitled to anything, but we're also entitled to go out and get it. Shoe leather work, investigative and journalistic work. I like these interviews because we do get more information, and what we can do is because there's a lot of information that contradicts each other, from when it was stated to sometimes it's just the next sentence, to one interview being over here and a month later another interview over here that really changes the dynamic. So right now we have a lot of information that has been injected into the story since we first heard it. We now know that 2 aunts and a cousin were with them that day, and that was it. So it sounds to me like the only time they were around family was at their BJ's outing, and then they came home and went out again, just the mom and the son. So we haven't heard, in all fairness, that there were any other parties with them at the table when they were eating. Not the aunts, cousins, or the stepfather. So, would it be plausible now if there was a full steak taken home? I would believe that the stepfather was at the house, but I've never heard those allegations either. So I don't know. I can just tell you that for me, the behavior's off, the urgency is off, the emotion is off. The story isn't very clear, and you would think that parents that just have a missing child would want to get as much information out to the public as humanly possible. The only time you try to prevent information, the flow of information, is if things aren't as they seem. And I'd have to think that now hindsight's 2020, because we're all these many months later and things aren't as they seem. So why is everybody trying to appear forthcoming with no real information? I don't know. I'll let you guys decide. You guys get the information, theorize at least on what we hear and see, instead of just somebody else's opinion that you don't get to hear and see. This is all the information we have. We don't have, this is not laying out a foundation for stranger danger. This is not laying out a foundation for a child that ran away. This is not laying out a foundation of the father having some type of issue with, custody or getting his son or anything like that. This is something different here. This is something wildly different. You've got camera footage that shows there was activity on the outside of this child's home, and that activity was on the same morning, early morning, that this child disappeared from the house. This child was sheltered. This child didn't have friends. This child was mostly a loner and stayed inside the home. This child did not have a whole lot of internet access, and the little limited internet access he had was super restricted. So we have information that this child doesn't like bugs, dirt, really the outdoors, you know, unless there's certain things that he does do, such as fishing, loves to fish, loves to go swimming in swimming pools, is a very good swimmer, used to love running around at his other school, where he gets the marks on his back when he was back in California. But there's just certain things he doesn't like doing, like going outside without his shoes on, because he has a very bad experience of stepping in an ant mound and it hurting his feet, and he never wants to have his feet hurt again. So that really almost prevents the whole walking out the door theory as well, because there's no evidence whatsoever that he walked out the door. Actually, as a matter of fact, the evidence that is available to us absolutely contradicts that theory or that assumption. So how did Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers just disappear? What happened? Does it have anything to do with his house going dark around midnight or the lights outside of his house? I don't know. You guys let me know at bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Let me know your theories. If you have any information that could lead to the whereabouts of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, please reach out to any local law enforcement department. If you'd like to stay anonymous, please consider reaching out to 833-TELL-DOG. Thanks, guys. You guys have a great day. God bless you. Go rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Sayonara. Oh, by the way, before we sign off, let me go here because I know we had a lot of great people, and I'm sure there's some things that I missed. Lost Cause, thank you for the hippos. Lost Cause also gifted 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships. We got SPED teacher giving a very, very generous super chat. And we have RT2Go also giving a very generous super chat. Cheryl giving 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships. So if you received your gifted 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships, don't forget to thank Lost Cause or Cheryl. I think that's about it, guys. So go make it a great Sunday, and we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be my last day. Then Tuesday I should be traveling. So you guys will see me when I go live next. Say a prayer. If you're going to come to court, please be, if you can, wear green or a green pen or something green to honor Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. God bless.